It's right. I've said it for a long time. We don't have a Labor Party anymore. It's really that simple in terms of there's nobody representing labor.
All right, we will address this. Anybody who donates $20 is going to get some type of a response to this. Okay, go Jen, go Melanie. Love and respect to each on the panel. What do you all think about Tulsi 24? Break stranglehold on the corporate interests of the populace, call their BS, question the narrative in public. Well,
promise. I think just Tulsi's gotten too toxic.
It's not just that Tulsi's gotten too toxic. I think the real issue with Tulsi is the fact that I think it's a deeper issue, not because of the way that she's gone off, but a bigger issue on the left in politics in regards to why she's gone in the direction that she's gone in. This is somebody who served our country and serves our country as a medic. I mean, she really has put her life on the line in many instances, and there was so much disrespect that was thrown in her direction. People were saying that she was a traitor to the country when she was running. That type of stuff has no place, especially for somebody who actually puts on the uniform for our country. I mean, to accuse somebody of treason is a very serious thing. But one thing that Jen and I were talking about earlier, which is something we notice in left politics, there really is this problem with embracing people who will put on the uniform for our country. There is very few military supporters that are on the left. There is a huge difference between people who serve our country and those who serve the military industrial complex. I think there has to be a distinction, a very firm distinction between those two things. And we were listening to Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk earlier, who mentioned the fact that one of the reasons why the right is so effective getting things done is because they do embrace people who serve in the military, and they are very, they're very efficient. They're very efficient. They understand a top-down strategy, and if they hone in on an issue, they usually get it done. Whereas the left tends to be very scattered. There's this whole idea of, well, I don't want that person getting credit because I want credit. It's this whole put the spotlight on me. I want the attention. I don't want this other person getting it. And while I absolutely disagree with the direction that Tulsi is going, because she is way too far to the right at this point, I understand initially why she broke, because of the way that she was being treated. So would love to hear you guys' thoughts on the way that the right seems to be much more efficient and effective when they get behind a particular issue, whereas the left seems to be a lot more
infighting.
There's a lot more of this infighting stuff that's really got to go away. It's so counterproductive to what we're trying to do. Whoever wants to jump in, love to hear your thoughts.
I'll jump in on that. So it's a question I ask myself a lot, because I started off with campaign finance reform when I started getting really into politics and activism. And there was always a question about the left and the right and where they stand on this. And, sometimes we really do meet in on that. And, I've worked with organizations on the right who, stand with organizations on the left when it came to, anti-corruption and money in politics and how we deal with it. So the thing I observe is that the right is very good at coming together and saying, okay, we're going to work on your issue today, and tomorrow we're going to work on my issue. But they all know that's going to happen. They trust, if trust is the right word to use, that they're going to get on this, and they're very strategic. They look at the long game. You could see after Obama had won his first election, what did they do? They went out and they took all the state houses, and then after that, what did they do? They gerrymandered, right? And they made sure they were going to keep that, and then they could take over Congress, the Senate, etc. So, the right is very good at that. Whether you're social conservative or fiscal conservative or evangelical, whatever, they come together and they toe the line. You see it every time that they start questioning people, in a committee. They all ask the same question. They all come in with the same question. The left is a very diverse place, and we are willing to argue with each other, and sometimes those arguments separate us instead of bringing us together. So it is, I think there has to be a willingness to say, okay, how do we work with each other in this spectrum of, lefty politics, and be willing to say, okay, your issue is important. Let's work on that first. And I will say in New York, we've been learning that lesson. We've built coalitions here, and that was the way forward. We had the Housing Justice for All Coalition, tremendous, reforms for housing that happened. The Invest Our New York Coalition, that came out of Budget Justice, which was a small group that said we got to do something about the budget and how it's an austerity budget in New York, and that bloomed into over 200 organizations that raised, like Bob said before, over $10 billion. And our small changes that we won, if we got what we wanted, we would have probably raised over $100 billion from the projections that we had expected. We were only expected to raise about $4 billion. We raised over $10 billion on those small progressive tax reforms. So coalitions are a way to go, coming together and, let's go back to Bernie, not me, us, it's the movement. So we have to have that perspective. What is the movement? What does it mean to us? What is our goal? I think, and this is, to me, it's not partisan. It's the climate crisis. They did politicize it, but climate crisis is a nonpartisan issue. What kind of world are we going to have in a few years? We may not have one, and maybe things that can live in the extreme temperatures and the extreme changes are going to be there, but we may not have one for ourselves and our children. So that's, I think, should be a unifying force for us, and maybe that's what we have to work on first. There's a lot of different things that we have to come together and say, what are we going to change? How are we going to change it? And really, come together on that. So
I think one of those things is labor. And we talk about that a lot. I mean, you have a lot of good stuff going on up there in New York right now, as far as labor movement is concerned. I mean, we're kind of stymied down here. We don't have that again, but that's one of those things where it's not a left or right thing. And the people that are in unions are both. So like workers' issues are not left-right issues. There's a lot of people that are socially conservative that are working people that believe in a living wage. So I think that it's economic justice issues are really nonpartisan issues, just like climate. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.